I think that winning this game and being the first one in the Challenger Series is like almost doing 70% of the job.
The result is not that important, I think, because even if you lost, we'd win the others if we kept the confidence and everything else. But if you lose, people might lose some of that, which could hurt us.
We're getting ready for this game. This is the most important game for us right now.
I feel like their team's pretty inconsistent. They will either win early game or really, really lose early game really hard.
We will 3-0 them. Maybe not 3-0, but we're gonna take it.
I think our teamwork is better than theirs.
I'm not scared at all.
Hello everyone and welcome to our special coverage of the European Challenger Series Spring Finals, coming to you live from the LCS studio in Berlin, Germany, as we see the Copenhagen Wolves and Huma taking to the stage for their bout. I'm Ify Shoks de Voortre here with Trevor Quickshot Henry and Mitch Kreppel-Voortpoels for today's title fight between Huma and the Copenhagen Wolves, all for this trophy right here. It's beautiful, but it has, of course, more important implications.
It really does, especially when you look forward to the promotion tournament. But hearing Rudy say, we're going to take 3-0, maybe not 3-0, but we're going to win. I want to see how confident they perform on stage.
I like the contrast between whoever it was and then Wickeds. Like this match, it was World 70% done. We're getting there. So important. I don't know, man. I don't think this match is very important. You know, as long as we don't lose confidence, we'll get into the LCS. Typical Wicked.
Well, in any case, today these two teams are going at it in a best-of-5 set for the Spring Challenger Series Championship and the top seeding at the all-important Summer Promotion Tournament. There we see the side selection. Huma on the blue side for games 1 and 5, if it comes to that, of course. And the team that ends up winning the best-of-5 puts them just one match away from the LCS. Such huge implications.
It really, really is. And it's a new promotion tournament format for the year. It is different from last year. You can see on your screen at the minute, match 1 will be a single elimination. That is the 10th place EU LCS and the loser of today's final. If you drop out in that final, there is no way for you to advance to the LCS.
Yeah, obviously. So this is a seeding match. It matters. And then we go into a double elim bracket kind of where out of the 4 teams remaining, 5 teams in total, want to make it to after the first part, which is single elimination, it goes into a double elimination bracket. It's really hard to explain.
You were right
the
first
picture
time.
Makes a lot more sense. That's why I just should talk less and we should make use of more pictures.
In general.
Generally.
Yeah. Okay.
Production, more pictures.
All right. And that's our promotion tournament, by the way. We'll be covering that starting from next week, Thursday.
Yeah.
For now, though, we got to find out who will be the first seed. Let's take a look at the teams and how they got here to the big stage, starting off with Huma. They tied for second with Inspire in the round robin, but then beat them in a very thrilling best-of-5 to make it all the way to the final.
Yeah, and that's also the reason Huma had the side choice on games 1, 3, and 5 for today's final. But that was an upset. I mean, Huma taking down Inspire, they were not expected to win that match. And if you look at the bottom bracket, the Copenhagen Wolves beating Millennium 3-0, that was way more of a surprise. They came in with a substitution, and Millennium were actually the pre-everything favorites to not only win Challenger, but also to make it into LCS.
Yeah, but Millennium's play throughout the Challenger Series was dropping week by week by week, and then obviously Copenhagen Wolves made those substitutions. That kind of helped them a little bit, and that was the deciding factor. Also that we're moving to an offline environment, and these teams, they're always comfortable playing at home, so maybe they get some input as well, because the coach can technically be behind them. It's like, yeah, guys, I think it's time for Dragon.
Maybe.
Suddenly, right here, that's not possible anymore on the stage.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. And as we see the action unfold between these two squads looking to go pro, we want to get your input. As always, tweet at LOL Esports and tell us this time around which team do you think is the most prepared to compete in the LCS and why. Tweet your answers at LOL Esports with the hashtag EUCS, and we'll check on them later today. So, talking about experience and preparation, let's focus in on the match at hand and taking a closer look at Huma, who have Werlip, Rudy, Godbro, Holy Phoenix, Jisvikas, and their coach Kibs. Well, nothing more to say about this lineup than experience, LCS, and even world stage experience for these guys.
Yeah, 4 former LCS players and the one guy that actually isn't or hasn't been in the ULCS has went to Worlds. So they've all been plenty experience of playing on stage, playing for competition, the need to win. Hopefully they can bring that experience to the stage, because seeing a lineup like this, you would expect a very macro-oriented, at least foundation of gameplay, but it seems very much so that they're still relying on individuals to carry.
They really are, and it's actually been a trend of Huma throughout the split. On a day, a player will show up, and then the rest of the team will stand behind that player, and they will use that player to spearhead any sort of strategies. In the semi-finals, it was Werlip on Jax. He went back to a champion that he was carrying with last year. It is arguably his most famous champion, and he had a great performance, and the whole team rallied behind him. But they do that for everybody. If Godbro's having a good day, if Holy Phoenix is having a good day, they stick behind that carry, and the rest of the team supports him.
Yeah, and it's normal that this behavior kind of comes out in Challenger Series, because It is very rare that we will have so many even matchups where you then need to rely on the macro to kind of win the game. Like in LCS, once you get to the higher tier of teams, people are really good at going even in lane, but very often in Challenger Series there will be like a mismatch or one guy just fluking or underperforming, and then you can really leverage that lane win to kind of get you the game. But if you rely too much on that strategy, obviously once the game gets closer, that sometimes these games devolve into very ill-advised mid-games.
We'll see what plans they bring to the table here as they are up against the Copenhagen Wolves, with also a wealth of experience in there with Wicked, Ku, Kadral, Pinoy, Sir Nuxalat, and Mosi Ting is their coach. A tough challenger round for them, coming in 4th, but then they completely surprise everyone in that semi-final versus Millennium, especially Millennium, but we think that they overperformed by a large margin.
I think that's fair. I think, Millennium struggled when they made it to the offline environment. They also made substitutions that may have caught Millennium off guard and helped out. You man on your screen, Wicked, had a great performance. I think he was enabled by Ku. Ku coming in to replace Troven, really stepping up. And in my opinion, I feel like the Wolves just had an absolutely phenomenal day. I want to see if they're going to use those individual mechanical performances today to beat Huma, where maybe Huma might be a little bit more prepared.
But obviously they have more time right now to practice with some of these substitutions. You mentioned Ku. They obviously have Kadral right now in the mid lane too. Player I like focusing on because he's a little different. He doesn't play very lane pressure oriented, but from the few times that I've watched him play or even played against him, he pulls quite far back in lane, but then he trades that for utility. So he's not afraid to sacrifice lane gains to go for a roam or to get a map play. And that may work well with some of these more individually carry-oriented players that the Copenhagen Wolves have on their roster. Think of Wicked, who can definitely still snowball if he gets an advantage, or Pinoy. And we sometimes see that difference for the Wolves as well, when they snowball and when they don't.
Yeah, and I've been very critical of Ku because he's a challenger player who was the next coming of fantastic challenger junglers last year, but struggled the moment LAN finals happened. Then he joined Giants, and I was a little uninspired with the Giants' performance so far this year. But then semi-finals happen. So this is a guy who's got very high highs and very low lows. So my eyes will be on him and how he's going to perform, because he was arguably the carry in the semi-finals.
Yeah, definitely, and helped to accrue the huge goal leads that they had in that finals as well. If we take a look at the difference from the regular season, all 5 times the difference with the regular season at 20 minutes, rather, the goal they accrued and the pressure they put down on the map. I mean, if they do it the same way, there's going to be a clean 3-0 here, but I don't think that the same overperformance will happen here today, knowing that the coach is not there the whole game, knowing that the big stage is there.
Yeah, we have to realize, like, these guys, when they get a lead, like above like 2K, like you can guarantee that they're good enough to snowball it out of control, get it to 3K, 4K at 20 minutes, especially once they have some synergy or maybe more confidence with those roster changes. But that's true for most challenger teams. It's when the game goes even, and the goal swings stay between like 1,000, 2,000 for the longest time. That's when we need to see them rely on stuff like rotations and maybe some map play. And I wonder what the level is going to be today. But we have to keep in mind that we can't judge them on an LCS standard either. Because if these players were all LCS rotation level, well, then they should be in a top 6 team already, because we have some serious issues in the LCS in the bottom 4 on those matters too. So we just need to make sure that we have the right expectations going.
And you also know those bottom 4 LCS teams are all going to be watching these matches, because
hopefully
Huma and the Copenhagen Wolves will be advancing to the promo tournament depending on the seeding of today's final. And they are also setting their sights on their opponents, because that's what everybody's playing for, the title of Spring Split Champions, and then to qualify for the League of Legends Championship Series.
Yeah, definitely. And when we think back of our last Challenger final, it went all the way to 5 games. It was very long, but Dragon doesn't have the same importance. So what's going to happen today? I don't know. We might be here for 7-8 hours of fantastic League of Legends. And the stage is set. And as we head inside for Game 1, Huma's Werlib weighs in on his fellow Challenger finalists.
Honestly, I didn't expect Copenhagen Wolves to beat 3-0 to Millennium. Like, I didn't think that Millennium was strong like in the past, but I didn't expect also a 3-0 like that easily. I think Copenhagen Wolves has changed, like, overall. They are playing like a team. Like, they are not doing big plays or they are not trying something hard. They are just playing a standard, doing well and not throwing the game, and they just wait until the enemy team just make a mistake and they get the advantage from there.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Richard Polskamp, joined on the caster desk by James Stresseleri and bringing some more Danish punch with Martin de Fischer-Lunge as we load up for the first game in this best of 5 set. Yes.
You just bring me because I'm Danish. That's the only reason. I get it.
Well,
it's
we've got
fine.
a lot of diversity here from the UK, Wales, Denmark.
We're not independent yet, Pulse. Don't worry. But we had like 5 Danes on stage last time. We figured we needed some.
True, we got three
series.
this time around. Garbro's there, Wicked is there, and of course we also have Pinoy.
We'll see if they have the strength. But, you know, I'm looking forward to this series because I think Willip said it there is he wasn't expecting Wolves there. We weren't expecting Wolves
anyone,
there.
really?
Like, honestly, somewhat weren't expecting Huma either. We looked at how Inspire were playing and they looked very good. But nevertheless, these two teams showed last week that they were the absolute teams that should make it here.
Yeah, definitely a bit of an upset. I feel like the Inspire Huma was less of an upset and also went to 5 games. And in week 5, Huma 2-0'd them.
However, at this point, if I'm Huma, I look at a couple of key champions, Poppy, Nidalee. Take him away or first pick him here in the early onset of champion select.
Whoa!
That is pretty crazy.
Tried to do the cool hairstyle, he was trying to fail a little bit. Anyway, you said it yourself. You ban away Poppy. Wicked's #1 pick.
Yes.
And when Wicked has a #1 pick, you just ban it. You always try and push him on second-tier champions for him. He should be able to play Nautilus. We've seen, you know, Wicked in the past play carries, like a Fiora. I think could also be an option for him.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize that for some new viewers. Wicked has had 5 games on Poppy and 1 game on everything else other than Fiora, which has been 2. So it is his champion right now, and the best performance we've seen has been on Poppy.
And a lot of people will be thinking, why is there a Twisted Fate ban? We've only seen it a handful of times. Well, Kadril, it is his best champion. It's his most played all along the board. And it also gave Copenhagen Wolves a lot of freedom when it's available. They will be happy blind picking it early in a draft and give the counter pick over to somebody else on their team. We know that Wicked prefers the Poppy, prefers, you know, other picks top lane, so they didn't utilize that too much, but it's still another option.
I'm glad Huma have learned from the mistakes of Copenhagen Wolves' opponents Millennium and have taken away Poppy and Nidalee. We see Willip just hovering over the Jack, just showing that he can play it. Yeah, it's like, look guys, I know you didn't ban it out, but he carried 2 games real hard against Inspire.
He did, and like it is his champion, but I 100% understand not banning it, especially in game 1. I think there are better top lane picks for Willip as well, even though his Jax is very famous and he will probably fall back on it later in case they do fall behind.
There's a lot of discussion here, at least, you know, picks that you can see that normally would be banned in the LCS that are available here. Rammus has been heavily banned. We've got Kog'Maw, Alistair, we've got Gragas available that's seen a couple of bans as well.
I was banned a lot in the semi-finals.
Yeah, he was. A lot of these top tier picks are available for this pick and ban phase.
Willip usually draws a lot of those Rammus bans as well, along with Jax, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see Huma maybe pick up now that Braum and Gragas have been picked up in first rotation for the Wolves.
I want to talk about this first pick, Lucian, and what basically happens for Huma. I don't think first picking Lucian is that strong anymore because there are AD carries like Sivir, who's super good in the current meta. You can play Jhin potentially. We know, of course, that Ezreal is also being used as a safe pick. And when you first pick Lucian now, and there are the likes of Braum open, he's directly a counter to you in teamfights already. Add in a Gragas then, you have a massive tanky frontline against a low-range AD carry.
Yeah.
It becomes so difficult for Lucian to deal damage.
And honestly, I feel like Wolves on their next rotation are fairly likely to do what they did in semis, and that was go, okay, put Kadril on Lissandra with teleport, put Pinoy on the Ezreal, and we'll just get Wicked, whatever can cope with the top lane. No point in picking top lane for them right now. That's what I would expect looking at their games last week, but of course Sivir is available now as well as another option.
And again, you can go Sivir Nautilus if you want to just stick to having that massive front line. Sivir is fantastic when it comes to buffing up these tanks because they actually have enough damage to take down an AD carry in these mid-game fights. And if you can just make sure they always get to that AD carry, there's nothing he can really do. So, 2 teams drafting very different, very squishy on the side of Huma. Obviously haven't shown the top lane just yet, but also went for Elise jungle. And Copenhagen Wolves, in my opinion, has the ability to just build a massive front line here with a Nautilus pick. Can also come in as the last pick for Wicked if needed.
Yeah, they haven't picked just yet, but we do have the lock-ins from Huma, which were Elise and Corki. So most likely going to see Corki mid lane this game and then Elise in the jungle. So looking towards the top laners still. There's the Lissandra pickup, most likely for Kadril. Could go on Wicked as well, but we've seen it more from the mid lane. And then Sivir for the AD carry.
And it's exactly the kind of pick Kadril likes. You can run teleport on it, you can get into other lanes. Yeah, exactly. You just get over the other side of the map, and he'll look to snowball either Pinoy or Wicked like we saw in the semi-finals. Interesting, something we didn't touch on too much is the Quinn ban. So that was banned away because GodPro and I believe it was CosQ in their semi-final were just going back and forth on the Quinn-Corki matchup, and whoever had the Quinn was just basically winning because they would win the laning phase super hard and end up snowballing off it. GodPro had a couple of misplays on it, but clearly they wanted at least the Corki available in the middle lane and force Cadril onto that Lissandra.
Yeah, makes sense. And there's the insta lock-in from Huma, the Nautilus going into the top lane for World Lab. So I hear the sigh coming in from Deficia. What, do you want the Rammus? What did you want?
No, I really like the Nautilus pick here. That's why I kind of wanted Copenhagen also take it in their rotation, because I don't think Nautilus really, outside of maybe you pick a Fiora and you go full late game, I don't think there's anything you can really do to destroy him in the laning phase. And I think Copenhagen Wolves could kind of predict, okay, Huma is running with double AD carry. They need some sort of protection, so a Rammus or Nautilus are the most likely picks to come in. But obviously, because you haven't seen enough of the damage deals of Copenhagen Wolves at that point, you wouldn't have picked the Rammus most likely and just gone for Nautilus. And I think it is a missed opportunity for Copenhagen Wolves.
I think this is one of the problems, though, for Copenhagen Wolves. Like, what do you pick into the top lane now for Wicked giving him counter pick? They actually lock in the Fiora, and he's had horrific performances on Fiora.
Not only performances on Fiora against Huma on Fiora, there was a specific game where Wicked teleported in front of Holy Phoenix, who was playing Lucian in a botched lane swap and died 1 versus 1 in this exact matchup. So
yeah,
that's going to that well again. It shouldn't turn out like that, but history, let's hope it doesn't repeat itself.
Again, in theory, ignore the names, ignore the teams, you know, picking Fiora.
Can we do that, though?
No, we can't, but let's say it was like, Fiora into Nautilus is fine. Again, once you get to late game, obviously you become a massive split push and you can destroy him. Just the team we saw in the semi-final go 3-0 against Millennium had Wicked playing tanks. And I think it suited them a lot better than what we've seen in the past. I think this, actually for Huma, makes it suddenly a very good draft, but them getting the Nautilus. Also, I like Bard. In many cases, when you have these comps here that wants to try and siege up and like catch people out of control, like Bard ulti into an Elise Cocoon, into Bard stun, is a lot of CC coming, and then your AD carries can take them down.
Right. It's a lot of CC. First time we're seeing the Bard played for Huma, though. Braum, Nautilus, Alistair, Thresh have been like the champions that Cass has gone to. So now it's like, is this a champion that he's been practicing in secret, perhaps? Maybe just spamming games on it and just hasn't had to bring it out until now.
Well, we'll see in just a second. You can see all the Huma lineup right there. A lot of old veterans and old pros. Now you can see Copenhagen Wolves as well on this graphic. Hashtag HMA win if you think they're going to take this series. It is a best of 5, of course. So you can change your votes as we get through this one. And hashtag CW win. And you can see all the compositions as well on screen. I've got to be honest, I feel a little bit fearful for Copenhagen Wolves. Like, you look at the composition and you talk about what Deficia said. You take away the names, sure, I think it works. But the Fiora worries me.
It is a little worrying for me, especially when you look at what they are wanting to do with this. You want the Fiora and the Lissandra to be very strong so they can play it on the side lanes, and then you have a Sivir to wave clear and somewhat push a little bit in the middle lane and buy the extra time. So there's options there, but it's a little bit tougher than what Copenhagen Wolves were running in the semis.
All right, guys, let's get into game onto the rift for the first game of this best of 5 between Huma and Copenhagen Wolves. And this will be all fighting for the spling. The spling?
The spling split?
It's all right. We've got to pause because we can get you on spring right now. Don't worry.
The spleen.
So again,
the spleen.
If we look at the pick and ban phase, obviously for Copenhagen Wolves, they're like, okay, we know Corki is going mid lane because you picked Corki and Lucian already. That's why we take our mid laner. Yes, technically a flex, and then we have the last pick for Wicked. So they very clearly said we are ready to run a 1-3-1 composition with a carry split pusher. That seems to be the plan for them going into this pick and ban phase. Where on the other side of Huma, also a lot of strong picks in Corki and Nautilus. I don't agree 100% with the first pick Lucian. I think than first pick Corki. At least in that case, I think that's a lot stronger. But they have this comp here now with a lot of damage coming in from double AD carry. And of course, a rock-solid tank in the top lane.
Well, it's not quite Malphite, but yeah, we do have Nautilus in the top lane.
In disguise.
I kind of want to... Oh, God. Someone help me. At this point, I kind of want to maybe expand that discussion because this is specifically something that we see more in Challenger than we see in the LCS, and that is being comfortable on a pick and the importance of that. We've seen a lot of Lucian and Kalista come from Holy Phoenix. Kalista was banned away, and honestly, last week, Huma, they tried the Sivir, they tried the Kog'Maw. It was only really the Kog'Maw game that Holy Phoenix himself looked comfortable on, so I'm not too surprised surprised that they say, hey, let's give you this pick that you've had like 19 kills and only 4 deaths on. I mean, so that's where I feel they've gone with this.
It's also a takeaway from Pinoy, because it is his most played champion as well. So
got a pentakill.
Clearly, this is just two teams who've been also like not only scouting each other, but clearly they've been practicing against each other, because coming to the semi-final, you obviously didn't want to play against the team you were facing, so you had to play against the other side of the bracket. That, for both teams, would mean they probably spend a lot of time playing against each other, not expecting both teams to make the final. And now here they are, knowing a lot about each other. They played probably all these different matchups, and I'm sure every player here, if you ask them, are you confident you can beat whoever you're facing in lane? They're like, yeah, of course, you know, easy, you know, just give me a carry, I'll take care of business.
Well, as a quick update, some of the players just have a couple issues they're just sorting out, because obviously new to the stage and then just sorting key bindings, that type of stuff, and we should be getting into game very shortly. In fact, I can just see it over there, so only a couple seconds left. But I want to touch on the bot lane matchup as well, because we talked about like taking picks away and etc., and then like obviously taking the Lucian away from Pinoy. How is the bot lane matchup going to go? Because it looks like we're going to get standard lanes here. So in Holy Phoenix with like a Lucian Bard seems like a very aggressive lane.
Yeah, I definitely like the Huma lane more when it comes to getting the early push. Brom's shield does kind of break the Q from Bard, just kind of stops it in his tracks, and you don't get the CC coming in from it, so it becomes harder for Bard to like 1v2 zone them off. But just having double range, I think, is super effective. Also, very long cooldown on spell shield from Sivir, so bait it out, and then you can play aggressive for another like 12, 13 seconds. I think Huma is more than happy taking standard lanes, also because Nautilus, we know he does so well in the early start of the lane, especially against Fiora, he can push in early. So they're more than happy with standard lanes.
And not only that, what that also forces the Copenhagen Wolves to do is now play a little more defensive than they did in the semi-finals. Ku was on Nidalee in the majority of the games and was skirmishing early. There was that one game where he fought Joko on against Rek'Sai, just constantly fighting around level 4. Ku can't really afford to do that on this Gragas, especially not into an Elise if his bottom lane is getting pushed in, if his top lane is getting pushed in as well.
They messed up the golems. Holy Phoenix didn't get the last hit, so they gave instant level 2 to the Bard. Bard's level 2 power spike, especially when you talk to Crepo, is probably one of the worst power spikes in the game. But you get a heal. Congratulations.
Got it.
You get a heal.
Action.
That's about it. So, obviously a misplay from Huma in the bottom lane. It was supposed to be Holy Phoenix get the last hit, and then Bard is right next to the golem when it dies, and you didn't share the experience. Instead, Kaz gets it, and he's now standing here being level 2 and doing nothing.
This top lane feels a little bit like opposite land, though, right? You expect to see Wirlib on the Fiora, he carry games. You expect to see Wicked on the tank. We've got the swap around. Neither has seemed overly comfortable on these playstyle champions. So I wonder whether this is going to be a critical factor in the game, or if it's going to rely a lot more on this bottom lane, like we've kind of discussed about the strengths of the AD carries.
Well, I mean, yeah, AD carries obviously once we get out of the laning phase. Pinoy's had some good team fights. We know Holy Phoenix is a great carry as well. But the laning phase itself, I think it's more on the junglers. We're going to see the first move. Ku is on top side. Let's see if he can do anything.
Maybe. Wicked's fairly low, but Wirlib will have to get
out.
Oh, nice predict with a flash, and Wirlib is going to get flashed on by Wicked. Riposte for the first blood coming out. First blood of the series, the Copenhagen Wolves.
So I had a quick chat to Pinoy about, Ku and Kadrol joining the team. And Pinoy was basically saying, yeah, Ku is just going to be the early game shot caller. He can basically decide where to go. We will, as a team, try and follow him and just set him up to be a carry early on. Well, clearly he makes the call. Oh, top lane is pushing. We talked about Nautilus will push in Fiora early. There's 0 early wards. And also, your jungler has not secured a Rift Scuttler on top side or even nearby. So there was no protection for Nautilus, who will push the lane. Ku is like, I'm just going to gank that.
Yeah.
Beautiful prediction on the flash with the body slam, following the flash from Wirlib, and boom, first blood.
Such a good prediction, yeah. Just such a small window that you can actually get that flash to work. It translates now into the Tracker's Knife for Gragas. So, we spoke about, can Ku get the same kind of skirmish impact? He's had the one gank. This is now going to give him a little bit more freedom out on the map.
I just want to see the flash again.
Yeah, this timing, just right at the end of that animation.
Yeah. You have like maybe a quarter of a second to make that decision, but oh man, it's happening again. Kadrol coming in now for the assist onto Wirlib. He's backing away, but not to the right side of the map, unfortunately, so Wirlib should be going down here. Another kill over to Wicked as he procs the Vital.
And we missed the start of that, but it was a teleport play from Kadrol up to the top lane. This was exactly what we were talking about, this is what Kadrol will do. He'll sacrifice some of this laning phase. You can see he now has a CS disparity, but he gets Wicked a second kill now. And a Fiora with 2 kills at 4.5 minutes into the game is very scary in this kind of 1-3-1 composition.
And that again really shows that Copenhagen Wolves coming into the pick and ban phase, they were ready to take that Fiora matchup because you run TP mid lane. And also, of course, your early game, or your jungler is very early game focused. 2 ganks, 2 kills, Wicked off to a fantastic start. It is tough for Rudy. He's on the bottom side now, trying to do something.
Well, here comes Cass coming in from the side, looking for a Cosmic Binding, but both of the CC spells go wide as Nuxalot jumps to Pinoy, and they should be good.
And especially this jungle matchup, we quickly mentioned it before the gank with Kuat up top. Looking at the semi-final, I think there was a big difference in jungle impact. I think Rudy struggled a lot in the early game.
Yeah.
It is tough for him in this setup because his bot lane is like, we will do a camp on bottom side level 1, so you have to start top side. And he's like, okay, fair enough. He starts there, he starts on top side, he wants to do a normal clear. That exposes his top laner then, because he wants to go down and do red buff after the blue. What you can do is you just do the blue buff, and then you move in and you do Rift Scuttler on top side to secure that top lane and you ward for him. Or you actually just start on your own red buff. It's not optimal, but there are ways around it if you really want to make sure your top laner is not getting ganked and he has no vision. So that was a big issue for Huma with that jungle start, and just a big difference in the early game for how Copenhagen also played it and how Huma has played it.
Rudy's going to try ganking top lane here, but places the ward over the wall, sees the pink, and may look to clear it out. He doesn't have a bead on where Ku is currently, so it's a little risky. So we'll see what Rudy actually decides to do here. I think he's just placing down vision, might try and get this one in the tri-bush. Unfortunate, didn't quite land inside the bush.
The wards we kind of wanted to see a little bit earlier, just the one ward and then the Rift Scuttler. Also, of course, Willip shouldn't just blind push like he did.
Yeah.
It's kind of unfair blaming a jungler. Standard solo queue. Oh, I died in lane. Jungler? Anyone?
I mean,
no?
the other thing was the window between the two picks, right? Is because you're like, okay, well, jungler's just been topside. He's got to be going bot now, right? He's got to recall and look to go bot side off that first kill. Their mid laner's got TP. So Willip pushes up, and it's not the jungler that punishes him at all. It's somebody completely differently that you do not expect a Lissandra TP that early on. We didn't see how far up Willip was, but it looked like he must have TP'd right back into the minion wave and just looked to keep on pushing.
We don't normally see these TP plays for just one kill, right?
No.
It's actually often not even worth it because you lose like 10 CS in lane.
Sure.
But when the strategy for Copenhagen Wolves is so clearly get Wicked fed, so we can 1-3-1 and we don't have to wait for Fiora to outskill on her own to get through 2 or 3 items. Now Huma is reacting and Rudy's trying to gank top.
Yeah, well, they know it's pink, so there's some reaction time. Wicked's going to get ulted real quick, but Willip's low on mana. Rudy's coming in from the side. Grand Challenge has been issued onto Elise. Now Wicked is actually running away towards the enemy turret. K-Draw's getting blasted in the mid lane. Wants to flash away from the final rocket, and I've got to question Wicked's pathing. I feel like he could have just run back to his turret, no?
He had flash as well.
Yeah. Am I missing something?
I wonder whether he didn't have the riposte cooldown available. So would he have looked to have like riposte the cocoon and then flash out? Would be the play in my head of what you do there. But he
was like, he's out, man. He's good.
Because it's like he definitely doesn't let the Nort ult.
All right.
He doesn't riposte that.
So he used the riposte to actually trade before.
Got it. Okay.
A little bit greedy played for him. You definitely want to save it, but he had flash ready.
Yeah.
And he was fairly close to the tower. That obviously would have been a way safer play to try and flash in on his own tower.
But what do you gain from running back to the enemy turret? Like, where's your escape route from there?
Really, the only thing you do there is like hold your flash and just soak up time.
Okay.
Like, I think as soon as you go that way, you've conceded defeat because there's no way you can realistically get out without like flashing over, running down, and that's just a messy situation. Maybe he thought he could somehow do the long con, but
get through the tower somehow. Flash over the wall, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, okay, let's see that again, because...
Riposte is used in a trade with Willip before. Again, I don't think that's very smart. And then, so obviously he's saying, I want to juke, whatever CC is coming my way. But he then decides to just turn around completely, and then he wants to get close enough to the wall down here and then dash over the wall and then dash over to the river. Still think when you had your flash ready, it would have been better to see the CC and then just try and flash it in towards your own tower.
Yeah, because I guess maybe that's... so I don't know whether I'm reading into this too much, but obviously we're on super low ping environment now, so those flashes are slightly easier than online. I wonder whether that's just a case of being used to the stage or not used to it in a while, as maybe is the case. That's a minor thing, but it's something that, we always hear about Forgiven. Is like on this low ping environment, Forgiven almost never gets hit by CC. When it's skill shot based, anyway.
Maybe but he also doesn't run around and run into the tower.
That's
I mean, there's counter.
Yeah. We'd definitely be questioning, Forgiven if he did that. But
anyhow, mid lane, Kadril as we talked about, because he TP'd top and he kind of sacrificed his lane for Wicked, he is down in CS. His tower is taking some damage, and Huma has slowly but surely clawed their way back into this early game despite losing 2 early kills.
So taking a look at the keystones here, fairly standard. Of course, Bard will go for Thunderlords because of the ridiculous amount of damage he does in lane. But one of the more interesting ones is Fiora going for Grasp of the Undying. Sometimes you'll see Fiora go for Fervor of Battle instead, because the amount of damage you get later, you can so easily stack it up versus lane sustain. It's definitely more of a selfish build, but I kind of wonder. Is that a solo queue one? Sort of, but like it has also been used in competitive sometimes. I'm just wondering, like, I don't know, is it better play in this one where it's so clearly defined that they want to go for Wicked getting fed? There was an ultimate used in the bottom lane. The Temper Fate comes out. Holyfinger looking for the double tap onto Benoit. One more auto attack should do it. Takes down a kill just under the tower. Now Noose looking for the punish, but the Cosmic Binding will keep him alive for the double kill in from Holy Phoenix.
Another situation of Wolves where they could have escaped that gank. Pinoy had his flash available, spell shielded the the Bard ultimate, so was really just running out. He threw out the Boomerang Blade to try and trade back, thought that maybe Sir Nuxalot with this Ignite could have the damage to trade it back and forth. Both of them didn't use their flashes. Topside, though, there is a gank.
Yeah, and Godbro is also reacting from the middle lane. Volatile Spiraling will connect onto the backside of Wicked as he gets back to his turret. Ku was also in the top side, so Huma didn't want to fully commit onto that. Also, Kadra was reacting. Doesn't have the TP. Did use that a couple minutes ago. Yeah. So ultimately, everyone will just kind of back away, and that play will fizzle out.
I definitely feel like this is the kind of game we expected. You know, standard lanes, a lot of skirmish, a lot of fighting. So Pinoy gets binded here first. It's good that already here, CW could have played a lot more defensive. Now Holy Phoenix and Constantly realize, oh, they're actually really, really weak at this point. We can trade with them. Holy Phoenix is playing super aggressive. And I guess Pinoy gets surprised that Holy Phoenix is flashing in his face.
The thing is, I don't think he is surprised, because he decided to start attacking there. He decided
That's what I mean.
around,
he wanted to attack, and then he's like, okay, if he steps forward, I flash out. But it's a misplay, no matter what. And it's been 3 kills now to Huma, where Copenhagen Wolves had flashes ready on every single one.
And more importantly, that was a 2v2 kill. Like, that wasn't even like junglers getting involved, because a lot of the early kills from Copenhagen Wolves was like, you know, Casual going to top lane, facilitating Wicked, Ku coming in, getting some nice ganks off. That was just straight 2v2. And Godbro in the mid lane, maybe picked up by Ku. He's going to go in for the flash, pops the ultimate, and also the tomb comes out from Casual. But Godbro is still alive, and the reaction play from Whirlip and Rudy may be enough with Cass coming in from the bot side. The reaction comes out from Pinoy and Nukeslot. This may just result in everyone backing away. And Holy Phoenix was thinking about coming up, but he'll get back to the farm a little bit faster.
And Wicked stayed top lane here, didn't join in with teleport, so he might be able to take this tower down. The Wolves diving very aggressive for Godbro, had cleanse ready and everything, so he stayed alive, but if they get a tower, definitely worth it.
And the other side of that is, not only did he have his cleanse, Kadril didn't actually have any damage at that point. He had the Catalyst and 2 Doran's rings. So between that and the Gragas, they didn't quite have enough damage to finish him off. They do get the cleanse, they do get the flash from that, but they use a fair amount. They used Ku's flash, they used the ult from Lissandra, it's coming back up. Gragas ult is coming back up, but it means for just a small window, there are these options available. However, Wicked in the top lane, because of all of that action in the mid lane, because Whirlip TP'd into mid, they get a tower from it.
And it's fun with item builds early on, how a lot of mid laners have changed the way they build Rod of Ages. Oh, let's see what Wicked can do. Early on, he's trading still.
A lot of damage going on to Whirlip. He's trying to block the last Vital by walking alongside the wall.
Not my definition of a lot of damage.
Well, he didn't get the final Vital, but even if he got that, Wicked's going to get turned around, though, with the Dredge line. Whirlip still has depth charge. I think Riposte is still down. Ku was there, however, so they will be backing away. Rui's also going to the top lane along with Godbro, but I think they'll all back away.
I think Wicked is looking at his 2 kills and being like, oh, I must be strong. I got 2 kills right here. Like realizing then that Fiora actually isn't really that strong at this point into the Nautilus, and actually loses out on the trade also with the minions hitting him. Kadrill's still in trouble, but with these item builds, we saw so many mid laners now when they go Rod of Ages, you go Blasting Wand, like a Ruby Crystal instead of going for Catalyst, because you want more early power in lane. But still, I mean, going straight Catalyst is the safe option, and Kadrill is that safe player. He's fine falling slightly behind, as long as he has an impact with his team. And he might get something here.
This could be an impact on the mid lane, though. Ku with the ultimate, and again, just the CC chain. We literally saw this last time the ultimates were up, and he just picked up a kill.
It's the same play again. This time, ooh, Wicked.
Top lane, Dredge line, and just the rest of the CC. Wicked's just dead. That's so much damage. Nothing he can do.
Sneaky, sneaky. And that all actually came from that initial trade from Wicked onto Wirlib. They went back and forth. Wicked used his TP to get back to lane, and it was at that point where Rudy had snuck top and stayed there in that bush. So all from that trade and Wicked using his TP, Huma just go, okay, well, we know Wicked's going to come out forward in this lane now. He's going to try and farm it out. Let's just catch him.
Well, there is something I want to talk about, and I've been trying for the last 5 minutes,
I've
but
seen
constantly
you,
there's fighting.
I know what it is.
So,
There's another fight now, by the way.
Here comes Q. Here comes Kadril, and they don't have their ultimates though, so I'm not really sure what they plan to do.
It's going to be about the Ravenous side.
Yeah.
All right, so in the mid lane, in the bot lane. In the mid lane, we saw Cole being picked up by Godbro, and that was picked up very early. I was just wondering what your guys' opinions are on Cole versus, because we usually see it on AD carry, right? But not a whole lot in the mid lane.
Well, so often, if you have to go back early for whatever reason, you would get a second Thorns Blade. That is pretty dead now. You just get a call instead. And I think it is a lot better. The 80 HP you lose out is not good enough to not go call
get off this wall,
get their, extra life steal or life back on hit, more gold coming in from it. So I think it's a fine item. We don't see it on Corki often because it's so easy to itemize him early with very cheap components. But clearly Gabro had to go back very early in this lane.
Well, he's just completed it, so got that value.
I honestly thought it was going to be about the Ravenous Hydra on Wicked, because so many times we've seen Titanic Hydra, but now, of course, RIP the trade. You can't just swap it for free anymore.
I don't like the Ravenous.
I think it makes you so squishy.
Yeah. This is good. Once he hits like 3-4 items, then it's actually better. When to take down these big tanks, Titanic Hydra is better in the early game, and the 500 HP is just so much value because you will get enough damage anyway late game. I'd much rather get 500 extra HP.
Right, but what you've got to look at from this perspective is, in Wicked's head, we know he thought he could trade against Wirlib as it was.
Sure.
So what he does is says, okay, well, I'm going to push super fast. I'm going to be able to push every single wave as soon as I turn up here. I'll get the sustain. I'll just take these short trades. Never is this Nautilus going to be able to do anything against me. I'm Fiora, right? I've got this damage to go through it.
But that requires,
exactly,
it requires Nautilus basically to be a bot and just be like, oh, I'm not going to do anything to you then. Because obviously when he goes in for the quick trades, Nautilus will trade back with him, and he then gets ganked, and he dies instantly because he's so squishy.
I'm not saying it's the right thing. I'm just maybe putting some of the perspective from what
allowing
we've
us
seen
to
so
get
far
inside
in
the
this
head
game.
of Wicked.
Hey, it's what we've seen so far. Wicked tries to trade against the Nautilus, who's got Sunfire Cape already in this game. So that would be my assumption.
It is better late game though.
Yeah.
So he might be saying, you know what, boys, I got 2 early kills. We're going full late game here.
80 minutes, let's go.
And because once you get like 3-4 items, let's see what happens.
Dredge line onto Ku. And, well, there was the ultimate, but there was a disengage from Ku, so I think I'm not really sure Huma can get in range now. Godbro wanted it. I don't think he had the package, though.
Wicked used Grand Challenge there. Not that it's the longest cooldown, but it now means that, Wicked wanted to go in. A sign of perhaps miscommunication. Ku's just like, nope, get out of here. Don't want this at all.
90 seconds.
Yeah. So it just means that Wicked, if he ends up having to trade 1v1, which he has done a couple of times, is going to be worse off for it than he would be.
Well, Cass just clearing out some wards in the bottom lane. We've got some item builds being completed now. Holy Phoenix has accelerated towards his Essence Reaver, but bot lane is not too different. Also picked up the Zeal, so pretty standard build from him. Most likely going to be seeing Rapid Fire Cannon, could also see the Shiv as well.
It's just one of these small things in the bot lane where technically it was never supposed to give 2 kills to the enemy AD carry. It's just been a farm lane almost the entire time. But then that misplay where the Wolves bot lane were too greedy and suddenly Holy Phoenix and Cass can punish them. And you just sit in that tricky spot where you can't really do anything in return. And you just end up giving 2 early kills to the enemy AD carry, which can be super impactful, obviously, going 5-10 minutes forward.
It can be, and we would look at this bottom lane maybe 6 months ago and go Lucian Sivir, who, if Sivir doesn't at least stay even or get somewhat ahead here, the later and later and later this game goes, she's going to have only utility and a bit of damage. Now, obviously, Sivir late game crits in a team fight with Ricochet are disgusting. So Copenhagen Wolves aren't that unhappy about it. Yes, it is a problem to overcome by locking down Holy Phoenix. Until he gets the QSS, Kadril should be able to deal with it fairly effectively.
That was the best match.
I just wanted more people to go in and just assume him going all the way through the wall. He only just trolled himself there.
Oh, man.
The worst one is when you're in base and you're trying to get along
the long wall.
Yeah, and you actually just go back into their base and it's like, well, sorry guys. I guess we're still here.
Well, the Wolves, because they have TP ready in just about 2 seconds for Kadril, is trying to make a play on the bottom side. When you do have Sivir, you just want to push. You just want to push over and over and over. tower has taken quite some damage, and you are setting up for a potential dive here. So I like the setup from Wolves, so Nukes a lot.
Whoa, Rudy over the wall, lands the cocoon and will instantly flash over, repels up while the rest of the team gets in range. Ku's dropping low, looking for this kill here. He's so low, but he's still not dead. The red buff wants him. But he'll take it out. Wicked now moving on to Gobro. He's out of mana, but he's able to kite away. Meanwhile, Cage just locks down Cass on the backside. He goes down. Follow-up kill onto Wicked. This is starting to be a massacre. Nuke's starting to split off from the team.
There he is.
Cage was trying to make something happen. Pinoy eventually gets into the fight. Will speed himself up using heal. Repel comes up. Whirlip's trying to keep everyone alive. And Nuke's will just slam Rudy in the face with the Winter's Bite for a kill. That was incredibly messy, but that was, what, a 1 for 2?
I think so overall. Fairly extended, super messy fight. Double TP was used by the Wolves to try and get into that, but Wicked was going in when the rest of the team was going out, and it meant that he lost 3/4 of his health and had to flash away straight away as he got into this fight. Really messy one, but Copenhagen Wolves are looking to push after it.
Still, the setup I liked. You know, double TP ready, push in mid lane, then TP bot, and you force them off tower and you take the tower. It then turned into Cadril had to recall, so he's now really far away from mid, and then they're already waiting here, the Wolves, and they're being spotted. That's why Huma can engage on them and take what should be an even fight at this point. Red buff almost takes down Ku as well, and look at Pinoy, he has to run out of your screen, around the dragon, while the rest of the Wolves are fighting, and Huma is in a pretty good spot. We talked about Wicked, how squishy he is. Yeah, he's kind of almost selling his mid lane at the same time. I'm gonna get knocked up, you're gonna get knocked up as well. And in the end, though, the Wolves, because Pinoy can now finally join in, and they're all so low on the side of Huma, so Nukes a lot will say, oh, some support gold, that's a side stone. Boop.
For better or worse, you're going to snowball my top lane. If I get caught, you get caught. If I get 10 kills, you get 10 assists. That's how it works.
There we go, sorted, that's the deal. Not really sure he's getting the best end of that one, but so Sweet Cat heading to the mid lane. Nice setup from Huma, they just took the tower right there. It's down 3 towers to 2. They actually are ahead in towers, even though it seems like every time Copenhagen Wolves are getting these punishes and getting towers.
Well, this is the kind of game the community wants. You know, there's no lane swapping, there's no slowing down. It's literally just trying to set up for another gank or another fight almost at every single moment. When you have a Fiora who's building Ravenous Hydra, you just want to stick her in that side lane. You technically never want to leave the side lane. Yet when the Wolves saw a chance to take a fight, they're like, double TP in, you know, go, let's just fight here. And then Wicked goes in and is obviously super squishy, ends up dying in the end, and it is even in gold.
Yeah.
5 kills as well.
And it does make for a bit more of a fast-paced, more entertaining game with these back and forths, but what it does highlight is these teams aren't looking to prepare plays. They're not looking a minute, 2 minutes into the future saying, well, what's our next play? How do we do this? What is our next teleport play? It's more like, ooh, you know, we could make a play now. Okay, let's double TP in because they're kind of reacting to this, and then Pinoy is late to the fight. So it's entertaining, but it also is that sign that there's no real precursor to the fights a lot of the time.
It's why it becomes inconsistent.
Right.
Because you rely more on the quick reaction of your team, but also the enemy team. Like, oh, let's try and set up a gank top. Okay, does he overextend? Go for the gank. It's not like, okay, he will 100% overextend because the wave is slow pushing towards us, you know, set up here. We have a deep vision to spot enemy jungler. La 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 la, we can see everything, we know what's happening. It's more like, go for the gank. Oh, enemy jungler's here, take the fight.
Yeah. Old school.
But isn't this the reason why we weren't expecting these two teams to win in the semis? Because like Copenhagen Wolves, like they're not like a macro-based team, neither are Huma. It's all about the big plays, like last year Unicorns of Love kind of style. But then you look at Millennium and Inspire, and they were like the macro teams, right? They would like pick people apart.
I lost a lot from Millennium.
Yeah, I know you did in week 4. That was your fault. I'm still saying it's something you did. I don't know.
They looked really, really good the first few weeks.
Yeah.
And they were making good, you know, macro plays. They were snowballing early game, but obviously if you snowball early, it becomes a lot easier being a shot caller because almost everything you say is correct. No matter where you go, you can win the fight and get a kill. But against Inspire, they honestly got exposed. In lane swaps on a macro level, Copenhagen Wolves gonna run really fast to this tower and hit it.
Got it.
Kill it,
run
force
real fast away.
Huma away. But yeah, no, I mean, Millennium went downhill. And then, obviously, at the semi-final, they kind of
wasn't even downhill. It was like, you know, kind of steady across a cliff, and they just
went to the
off.
cliff and just kind of jumped out.
Week 5, that series against SK where they crushed them was just like holding on with fingertips.
Yes,
like,
it's when the car is like toppling over, and then Wicked, oh, we're good, we can do it, we've got the balance. Nope.
Wicked stepped on the fingers, and he fell down the cliff.
That's exactly how it went.
Yeah.
Lion King all over, almost.
The reverse Lion King.
Yeah, that's not where my mind went, but I'm glad you brought that out, Deficio.
Yeah, man, I was not expecting you to make a Lion King joke.
No.
But,
I mean, that used to be my favorite thing when I was a kid.
So the one matchup, speaking of apparently Mufasa himself in this top lane in Wicked,
Wait, he's not Mufasa. He's not Mufasa.
He was the one that...
Millennium was Mufasa.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry, Scar. I meant Scar. I'm sorry.
Man, didn't you have a childhood?
I'm just gonna... I'm out.
the devil out of that metaphor.
This is a duo cast. I'm out.
All right, see ya. All right, so Deficio.
Yeah.
How about this mid lane, huh? There's a lot of posturing going on. The team's just trying to fight over vision. Is this the most optimal play?
To fight over vision or run around mid lane?
Run around mid lane, which is what they're doing currently.
They're basically waiting for Dragon. Now Dragon is there, so now we're going to get a Dragon fight, which again is something we don't see too often. Teams often say like, oh, we can split push instead, you know, we're going to trade for a tower. But both teams are around it, so we're definitely going to get a big team fight.
Oh yeah, because Ku wants it.
Look at these
the
predictions.
Ultimate, but Repel comes up and this time really reads Ku. As Kadro on the backlines lands a good ultimate onto 3 players. Ku now comes in for another body slam. Rudy does not have Repel this time around. Holy Thing is looking to go big. Tempered away onto 4 people. And Nukeslot is still going deep. His team's not even there, but I'm Braum. Let's go. Pinoy takes the one in the backlines because everyone's just fighting everywhere. And that's a 2 for 0 over to the Wolves.
Did we just watch a support go in and like try and 1v2 them in the backline, get a kill, and then flash out as well? What a great play.
That's the manliest support I've ever seen.
Well, no Dragon. Wicked is going to try and get a red buff. And then see, he has a pink there, so he might be able to sneak in behind them. Because now it's 2 squishies tanking Dragon.
Yeah, there's no smite here. I'm back.
Look at Wicked. Oh, welcome back.
Between a Dragon and a Wicked.
He's going to go into Wicked. No! That's the easiest kill Wicked has ever had.
I don't even know what's going on here. Well, the Dragon's so low. Someone hit it, please. Who did I even go over to? Oh, Wicked flash over the wall. Instantly picks up the kill.
Wicked got it. Wicked got the Dragon.
Wait, how did he get the Dragon?
It was like 50 health and he just like hit it. We'll see again. Super late into this replay. So this was the fight you so rightly predicted as well here. The explosive cask, you know, the repel, easy to... So this is what Kadril does. This is, honestly, we've seen Kadril do that in multiple games now where TP's in has massive impact. And now it was Nukesalot's time to shine.
Go.
All the way through the ult. Let's go, boys.
Leroy! And he gets a kill. And also getting a backline.
Not 10k DPS coming out of that, though, unfortunately.
But
so
the probability of that working is very high.
Okay, we're going to have to enhance on this. Let's go for some CSI.
Rotate 70 degrees. Observers, get on that.
Figure this out. Because I'm pretty sure Wicked gets it. He just literally autos it.
Why is Huma trying to take the Dragon here when Ku is still alive with Smite?
Like, look at Wicked. He's just behind Dragon Ball Z here. And there's like, oh, Holy Phoenix. Hello.
Godbro puts out so much damage, though, right now.
And also, Copenhagen also been tanking the Dragon for the last, like, 44 seconds. And now Wicked...
What was that?
What even was that? How did he get it?
It wasn't even like
he didn't auto it.
And it looked like a Sunfire cape or something.
Did he Ravenous, like, active?
It didn't look like it, but Deficio is on the job.
That's like the only auto-attackless.
Yeah, it looked like he was supposed to Cocoon when it happened.
If he just like Hydra procced it,
because he was CC'd.
No, it was
it's a red buff.
Is it just red buff?
Yeah, he had red buff.
Well,
okay.
So Wicked sets up this play by stealing the red buff first.
That was it.
Steal the Dragon. More fighting, by the way.
Wicked try and contest the red buff here. Rudy comes back down. Ku, there's the ultimate, knocks Rudy into the team. He'll be going down. There's no way he's surviving that. Cagel's here with another great ultimate. Cass gets CC'd into infinity. Holy Thing's putting a bit of damage onto Pinoy, but he backs away as the rest of the team comes in from the north. Now Werlub's trying to back away, looking for some CC onto Nautilus. He lands the dredge line onto terrain because that one doesn't move. 2-0 over to Copenhagen Wolves again.
Every time we have a replay, we come out of the replay, we can go like, all right, about 30 seconds, fight. And there's something like this again is like in the jungle of Copenhagen Wolves. Maybe it's the second red buff they're fighting over. Baron is being started though. I didn't hear what you said.
I said, it's fine.
It's alright. Kadril's in. Have more fighting. Godbro looking to take down Kadril. He goes down, but the Baron has been completed out from the Copenhagen Wolves. Werl is being chased out. Nautilus goes down. That's a 1-for-1, but the Baron over to the Wolves, and the Baron power play begins.
Yeah, it begins now on this composition that wants the side lanes to be strong for themselves. Now Wicked gets to go over in a side lane with that Baron buff. You'll have the mid lane as well with the 3-man stack. So this was the fight again. We came out of a replay right into this. So Ku this time gets Rudy with the cast because Rudy doesn't have his repel available. Same play from Cadril. Once again, E in, W2 people or 3 people, ult yourself. It's super standard Lissandra, but he's been very consistent in the few games you've seen him actually making that play work for them.
That's a bit of a different build as well compared to what we normally see. He's not going Outlast because he's ulting himself every single time due to cleanse on Gabbro, and you know there's going to be a QSS coming in from Holy Phoenix. So he just uses basically his own ulti on himself to stay alive. I still like Outlast coming in because it buys even more time where you are a threat sitting in that backline, but because the fights are so quick and it's like pop Sivir ulti, you know Gragas is going to get to the backline. We've seen Sir Nukes a lot get to the backline a few times, and you know Wicked is going to be there, so you actually don't need to buy more time as the Lissandra. You just want as much damage almost as possible to get targets low, and then the rest of your team follows up with this insane mobility. And that's a problem from Huma, and something we highlighted in the pick and ban phase. Who is dying?
He is.
Not yet.
Dropping low, but he's going to back off. Got a TP coming in from the backside from Whirlup. Going to be using the depth charge here, and the rest of the team will be looking to follow up. That Braum ultimate is zoning everyone from Huma, looking for the re-engage now from Cadril. Instantly CC'd by the Cocoon. They might be able to pop it, but no. There's the ultimate in from Cadril. He'll be keeping Rudy in place. Suicast this time connects the magical journey onto the terrain. Now Godbro, he's trying to get back into the base, but Cass is not going to be so lucky. Wicked will be securing his fate. A 3-0 over to Wolf this time around.
Yeah, I don't think Nukesalot's really tanking if he wants to, but so that whole fight kicks off with Ku getting caught, and then Huma, instead of kind of readjusting when they're like, well, Ku's out of the fight, Huma just go, okay, well, just kill the one. Just get something. Get anything from this fight. Nautilus ult is used on a Gragas that nobody is able to auto-attack or even deal damage to anymore in the fight. Ku is already out, and that Naut ult goes down. So Whirlup just TPs in, and we've spoken about Whirlup on tanks. Just doesn't seem to have the same effect as he does on a carry. Because, you know, he's got to prioritize now a squishy target. Who have you got? A Sivir that has a, you know, a spell shield? You try and go for the Lissandra? Well, she wasn't there. Watch for the Nautilus coming in here. He just goes for the low health target. It's the only person he can get straight away, so he's like, I'm just going to throw my ult out, and it does nothing from that situation. That's a lot of this engage. Then Whirlup goes in into 4 people and doesn't really have anything he can do here.
I think there's so much of this, again, falls back on champ select when you first pick the Lucian and the enemy team goes Braum Gragas. Like, team fighting is so difficult for you, even if you have a front line in Nautilus. Cast now might be going down. He's all alone, so we don't need play-by-play on this one.
Rip.
But, like, you have this double AD carry set up with the early pick Lucian into Braum Gragas, and then later on Lissandra came in. So there's so many ways for Copenhagen Wolves to just literally deny the AD carries from ever auto-attacking anything. Because if they step too close, there's so much CC from multiple members and enough damage from like Wicked popping in, and then of course Cadril always ulting himself. I feel like Copenhagen Wolves, especially in that first rotation, just got such a good setup to deal with teamfights, despite picking Fiora late as well, because the other 4 members can just make up for everything that Fiora would lack in a fight, and actually set her up to do well. It's like, we got massive frontline, we got mobility from Sivir, we got tons of CC against double AD carry. Like, have fun ever dealing damage.
It's also a simple composition to run because Cadril, like, the roles are very clean cut, right? Like, Cadril jumps into the back, pops his ultimate, zones people away, the front line tanks, and the Wicked comes in from the side, or they 4-1. Like, it's fairly simple where, you know, Huma are trying to execute something a little bit different with the Bard coming out, and yes, he's had good ultimates, but it's usually because of being on the back foot, and it's just, you know, Nukesalot is going to come in and 1v5 you anyway, so...
Yeah, that is going to be the case. I wonder now, we've got 3 QSS finished on Huma. One's now in the Mercurial Scimitar on Holy Phoenix. So even on the Nautilus, they're like, well, I need to get out of this crowd control, need to have some impact in these team fights. Also for the Fiora ultimate that you can get rid of. So there is obviously a lot of utility coming out from the QSS,
yeah.
But it's one of these things that unless now we see it work perfectly from Huma, that's a lot of gold into these defensive resources, which is like, well, we can't really turn a fight back into it. I think it's good pickups, though, all down the board.
It just seems so much of Huma's plan with their picks, where they build around early game in like, okay, we pick Bard, so we have Bard Lucian, strong 2v2 lane.
Yeah.
Corki's always going to have pushing power in mid lane. Nautilus will push early against Fiora. So we have 3 pushing lanes, and we have an early jungle lane at least that is stronger than Gragas pre-level 6. So we play around winning lanes and winning the jungle matchup 1v1. And then we use that to take like the Lucian Bard on. Once they take him bottom, we rotate them around. Bard is fantastic at getting into an enemy jungle, you know, creating picks, setting up tower dives, and catch people off guard with his ulti. But he couldn't do that because Rudy, first of all, wasn't there in the early game where Coop managed to pull up a few ganks. And then also with Kadril, TPing around, despite Huma getting that double kill bot lane, Wolves kept it even. And then we started getting these team fights coming, where the Gragas and the Braum and so on just have so much impact, and the Lissandra from Kadril.
Well, here comes the bot lane push in from the Copenhagen Wolves. I feel like Huma should be able to defend this. Got a bunch of wave clear. Top lane's going to be split pushing now, and Werlib is going to try and stop him, but I think Wicked's actually going to take this one away. No, Werlib is able to clear out the minion wave.
He doesn't have to commit right now as well. He's super strong, so he can just walk up on the next wave. Pinoy.
Onto Pinoy, flash over the wall from Rudy, but only connects the Cocoon onto the front line. Now the TP out from Wicked. Got a couple seconds for Huma to do something, but Holy Phoenix is down for the count. So is Rudy. Copenhagen Wolves just running over Huma right now. Bot lane tower will be going down. So will the inhib. This may indeed be the game here, gentlemen. Copenhagen Wolves have the small minion wave, but they have the tanks just to tank up the turrets and keep those minions alive. And what really can Godbro and Werlib do with 40 seconds left on those death timers? Not a whole lot, I have to feel. Copenhagen Wolves just trying to zone them away. ZZ Rock Portal goes down, but Copenhagen Wolves are onto the Nexus and will be taking game 1 in this best of 5 against Huma.
It was more of the same from the Wolves from last week. Ku manages to get the early game impact, manages to snowball the lanes with Kadril's help, and from there, Wolves are like, okay, well, we'll play the same game plan. Don't even need the same champions. We were worried. Was it the Nidalee? Was it the Poppy? Seemingly not in this first game. They have both banned away. The Fiora does work for Wicked. Ku on the Gragas does get the same kind of impact.
I mean, that's the thing, right? Wolves drafted 4 picks that would do so well in team fights, and then 1 split pusher as the pick into the Nautilus. And when they were technically supposed to struggle early game against Huma, they managed to stay even because of Ku, obviously having a good early game, but also some misplays here and there from Huma, and then we start getting some of these fights where Copenhagen Wolves comps is just so much better. And that's the crazy thing, right? Huma put everything in the early game, I feel, and just couldn't play well enough around it, and especially Rudy didn't have the impact we expected from a jungler like him.
I don't think that's the wrong thought process to have, though, going off the information they had out of, regular season, out of playoffs, when you look at, the Copenhagen Wolves. Oh, he's on Fiora, that's fine. He'll probably just outplay himself and just teleport onto Holy Phoenix and we'll pick Lucian, right? But then he got 2 kills early because he was set up by Ku, and this is almost a different team now. We were talking to Nukes a lot, and he was just like, actually, these 2 players have introduced a lot into our team now. So they are playing against a different setup, and I think they have to approach it in a different way.
And it is definitely more team play now from Copenhagen Wolves than individual performance like it was before they got these new players, especially because of Kadril coming in and being the TP player and very vocal as well.
Well, that's our insight. We're going to throw it over to the analyst desk to take a look at the Game 1 win over to Copenhagen Wolves.
Thank you very much. And, Copenhagen Wolves walks away with the win. The Fischer was mentioning the early game from Huma. Something happened, though, that almost tilted you before everything was well begun.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Let's take a look.
Yeah, so we can actually get the first replay on the screen, and it's... Before we watch that replay, we need to set the tone, though, of what's going on in this matchup. In the draft, the Copenhagen Wolves is supposed to be pushed in every single lane. So if you look at the lane matchups, Bard and Lucian are supposed to push into Sivir Braum. Mid lane Corki will win, and Nautilus obviously pushes Fiora. But the Copenhagen Wolves will actually solve that, helped by Huma in a part where the Krugs on the bottom part of the map, sadly not on the screen right now, it's the other Krugs. But the Bard will actually end up taking the gold. That's what goes wrong there. So Bard ended up taking the gold in the bottom lane. So that means the power spike level 2 goes to Copenhagen Wolves. That one's out of the equation. Now in this part of the map here, Wicked is snowballed in the early game by this level 3 gank here from the Gragas. Really out of vision. You could argue that Werlib should actually have a ward here. You should be level for a level 3 gank. 3 camp clear from the Gragas. He comes in and he starts to snowball.
Yeah, it really does. And great play from Ku. This was the first of many body slam flashes that he pulls off flawlessly. And that was the level of performance that I was questioning whether or not Ku was going to bring to the stage.
And then the second element here is, yes, Kadril is playing losing lane, but guess what? He doesn't mind losing because he's TPing in and he immediately puts Werlib in the dumpster. Werlib, who has to be playing AFK push, pressure, is now 0-2 behind in the early game. I do hope that the Copenhagen Wolves learn that this is kind of positive variant and the game is not supposed to play out the way it does right here, because this is an extreme and they should have lost the early to mid game really hard with their draft, but they didn't. Mostly as well because now if their lanes are not pushing, Rudy can't actually invade the jungle with deep vision. Things would get a lot worse for Copenhagen Wolves. They played very well, but they were set up for failure, and I really hope that they at least look at that in their draft next
Yeah,
year.
I mean, it could have been just the confidence, obviously. You said you wanted to see what Ku would do if it would be the semi-final Ku showing up. It was. Maybe it was down to a game of inches. They still got ahead, but what happened then, right after, they almost gave up their lead just like that.
It felt like it because Wicked takes everybody in a wild goose chase up in the top lane, really holding onto his flash. Pull up the second set of replays because we look down bottom and Pinoy and Nuxalot, they really hold on to their flashes. And, you know, this engage, both Pinoy and Nuxalot could have gotten themselves out in a straight up 2v2.
Yeah.
I mean, 10-bit Fate completely whiffs, and Holy Phoenix still manages to punish.
Yeah, at any point they can opt out. I get the sentiment here. You want to turn into a stun lock, but Pinoy should have just flashed out earlier.
Yeah.
And this kind of starts the equalization of the game. So these are errors on both sides that kind of get avoided in LCS matches. We don't see solo kills very often. This, however, is the second time Ku comes into the mid lane here. Really good synergy between him and Kadol, because the reason Godwell can't escape is because they burned his summoners earlier. But the whole tone of this mid-game is just skirmishes, ganks everywhere. There is no deep vision anywhere. There is no rotations. There is no macro. And I'm not saying it is necessary, but it just sets a tone for the series. We will see a lot of fighting.
Oh, you mean like this one?
Like
where
this one.
we have everybody involved, and this was the first of maybe 5 or 6 really drawn out, really extended battles in different parts of the map. And I think you can just get a big sense of how really both teams are just trying to force a square-shaped toy through a round hole, just brute forcing their way to objectives.
It kind of reminded me of the Vitality game we saw with the Nasus, where you know you want to split push and set up a different game, yet you fight all the time when you shouldn't. However, you know that this time it was more of the team's decision to go in for the fight.
So in the equivalent of Vitality, Cabo Shard there was forced to enter the fights because his team was getting forced into a team fight. Here is actually the opposite. Copenhagen Wolves had the lead in the game. They had a 4-1 composition, potentially 1-3-1, depending on how you want to define it. But they opted into a lot of fights. I think we have a third replay too, where they opt into a final fight with 2 teleports when they were setting up exquisite 1-3-1, but their jungler overextends. Yeah, so we can roll the clip immediately. Ku will walk forward here. Look at the side lanes. Where's Wicked and where's Kadol? In the side lanes, setting up their own vision for the 1-3-1, Ku walks in. But because these guys, they work well together, we have to commend them that they have good communication in fights. They're on the same page when it comes to like target prioritization, and they're also playing well. Ku played a fantastic series so far. They will end up winning this fight, but the premise is still should have never happened.
And I think it extends a little further. The number of times that Kadril pulled aggression, pulled thread, you know, slowed down Huma's presence, and the fact that Nuxalot played a near perfect frontline Braum. He literally was nuking people with that Winter's Bite multiple times in a team fight. It felt like Copenhagen Wolves were using their core well, even though the team composition wasn't necessarily entirely built to do that.
Yeah, I think we should give more props to Sir Nuxalot. He played a fantastic
He's a really good player. And also these guys like Nukes especially comes out of a very heavy solo queue environment. So this is his bread and butter. Like these random chaotic skirmishes that start at any given moment on a whim. That's what he likes. He plays very well in these. And that's why I think maybe the Wolves can look to draft more towards this. Why pick a Fiora that has the split push? Put Wicked on like a Rammus or an Nautilus himself that's just strong in these mid-game fights because they are on the same page, and I like what they bring to the table in terms of mechanics and some of the outplays in the fights. Split pushing is complex and they don't really commit to it. So either commit to the split push fully or at least know your strengths and play towards them. But other than that, I like what the Wolves brought to the table.
Yeah, it was 50-50 though in the beginning. I have an inkling we might be in for a long one, but if they're as entertaining in this one, then that's no problem at all. We're 1 game in and there's more coming your way in just a few minutes as Huma look to tie things up against the Copenhagen Wolves. Don't go anywhere, we will be right back.
Maybe. Wicked's fairly low, but Werle will have to get out. Nice predict with a flash, and Werle is going to get flashed on by Wicked. Riposte for the first blood coming out. Wicked now moving on to Gobra, who's out of mana, but he's able to kite away. Meanwhile, Kader just locks down Cass on the backside. He goes down. That Braum ultimate is zoning everyone from Huma, looking for the re-engage now from Cajol. Instantly CC'd by the Cocoon. They might be able to pop it, but no. There's the ultimate in from Cajol. He'll be keeping Rudy in play. Copenhagen Wolves are onto the Nexus and will be taking game 1 in this best of 5 against Huma.